on. Usual, let's get rid of the transcript, we don't need that. Usual procedures apply. You are all muted actually, so if you have a question, do click the raise your hand button if you want to. I usually come to those at the end just so I can keep the flow going. And there is also a chat function, so in your Teams you will see the chat or the Q&A. They both work in a similar sort of fashion. You can just type a question in there, but I may be able to unmute you if you'd rather speak at the end. That's absolutely fine. So without further ado, we are going to be looking at sending milk recording data from the uniform program to NMR. And there are various ways of doing this and things to check as well. So it's all sort of hinging on data quality, knowing what to look for, and where to improve things, which will make your lives so much easier, you know, from a recording perspective anyway, into Thor and so on. So I will share my screen. Then we are away. So hopefully you can see the uniform program here. Now I've got a good example here. It's an old set of data. It's Hartpury University who let us use their data for demonstration purposes, but it's got nice examples of everything. So I wanted to use this one for you. The first thing, which I think would override quite a lot of the other stuff, is whether there have been any line number changes in the program since the last recording. Very crucial for us because those changes don't come over automatically by any process at all, or even manually. You can't send a line number change over to NMR. So I will be talking about this from a sort of milk recorder perspective, but obviously if farmers are listening in, it's applicable if you're sending the data, you know, to your milk recorder. So if we go to Cowhead and then daily tasks, we have this one here, number 5. Everybody should have this on their uniform, regardless of level of uniform. If you're on bronze, silver or gold, it's there. Milk recording event update. And with all of these reports, if it's something you're going to use a lot of, you can actually do a right click and add to your toolbar. And that will pop it up the top here. So there might be, you know, might be 2 rows worth of favourite reports that your farmer is using. But you could, you know, pop that up there. I'm sure they won't mind at all. And then it's there for you to access. But if you don't do that, that's fine. It's still going to be here, 1.5 for a reference. So Cowhead, as I say, daily tasks, milk recording event update. And this is a list of, now ignore the dates for a minute, but this is a list of everything that happened since the last recording. So you've got a little sort of pre-check of what you're about to receive on the Thor file. Donna, I noted your hand is up. I will come to you a bit later on, if that's okay. So we've got carvings on here and dries. So these you can have a quick little check, but of course the validation measures that are in Thor and the live link as well, they will be, you know, checking these in any case, so you don't need to study them perhaps too closely. But if you look down, just keep going, there's usually several pages because lots of things have happened since that last recording. So we've got our usual carvings, services, PDs. If I go to next, quite a lot of PDs on this one, next again. And there's my services, and this is the crucial bit, identity changes since last recording. So this is the only place you will find these. It could be a very long list if they've just branded a load of heifers. It could be quite short like this one. So we can see the old line number and what they currently are, the new one. So that probably is your first port of call to then make those changes in Thor before you receive any data at all, and then things will match. So this will make your life much easier, hopefully. If you are a farmer sending this, or you know, sending data to your recorder, I know it does vary out there who does what, then this report in its entirety could be emailed to your recorder along with the export file. That would be really, really helpful. So if you go to print preview, it will send the whole lot, so that doesn't matter at all. Don't worry about it. It's just a PDF, really, just a list of information. The identity changes tend to be at the last page or the page before the last one. In this example, I've just got 3 pages, but if you wanted to check it and it's a huge herd and there's 40 odd pages, you can go to the very end page with the blue button rather than pressing through all of them like I did, and then you'll find either in there, or depending on what else is going on, it might be back one step with the green, but there's identity changes there. So that's all your recorder needs really on this particular point. So we can go to save, and all of the reports work like this in Uniform. Save that one, choose where you want to save it to, and call it, what it is really, line number changes. That will create, as I say, a PDF file. Save that, and that can then be added to your email that you sent to your recorder. Or if you're a recorder doing this, of course, you can always save it to your memory stick. So plug your stick in before you save, and then put it straight on your stick, and then you've got it to take away with you if you need to work on it later on. We come out of here, and then I can actually close this screen and go back to my menu. Okay, so that's your line number changes. The next part of it would be to actually send the data. So as an export file. Now this is done whether you're on the live link or not, really. Ideally, we want the export file still to go into Thor. A couple of reasons. It picks up any data since that live link last ran. The live link, also known as Freya in internal circles, so you might have heard that name bandied around, but Freya is basically a project name for the live link running data from Uniform and other software straight into Herd Companion NMR. So it's an automated task on Uniform, and it will run every day, all being well. So as long as the computer is online, the computer is on at the given time that it's meant to run, it will send all the events that we normally collect. So things like carvings, services, PDs. It also includes sold animals, new animals that have been purchased, and mastitis and lameness cases. When the recorder grabs the herd to then do the recording, maybe the next day, that process is locked because we want to, preserve the herd at its current state. We then do the recording, we add all the sample data, complete the herd, and then the Freya link, that live link process, can begin again. So usually that there is a 5-day lag on that live link to send data that has been put into Uniform in the last 5 days. So that gives us more than enough time usually to do that recording process. This is why we do the export file as well, because there might be 1 or 2 items, particularly carvings, that have happened since that recording was grabbed by the recorder. Also, there's extra steps of validation when you're importing the export file into Thor, that the live link, may have, it won't have missed, but it will just be, different, sort of a secondary level of checks, really. So it's a good idea to run it anyway. So we'll do sort of 2 scenarios. One is that this Uniform, let's say, is not on the live link, and I'll show you in a second how you can very easily check. So we want to run the export file back on our cow head. So say this will happen, for all recordings anyway. Cow head, and then we want number 12 links. And then we've got export to NMR. And again, that will be visible there. Sometimes the position moves. It depends if they've got all the options. So this herd is linking to a parlor. So I've got a number 1, but you will find that in that menu. Okay. And again, because it's a monthly regular tool, we could right click and add to toolbar if you so wished. So if I do a left click on here, we are then into the export wizard to prepare the file to go into Thor. And Thor is the milk recorder program that brings all that data together. So there are a few options here, depending on the type of herd. And, once you've done it once for that particular herd, it's going to be the same pretty much each time. Milk data is the Uniform linking to a robot or to a parlor system, whereby it is receiving milk meter information. So that will bring the yields over in this file as well as the events. So in one scenario, none. So we're just collecting event information for this particular example. And here, ideally, you'll see the last milk recording date lit up, or it might be a specified date if they haven't updated the Uniform with the previous recording results. So that is the data stream file that gets downloaded after each recording. So if you're seeing a really old milk recording date on here, and we're not on the live link at this stage, you will be able to change this specified date to something more recent, or maybe a month ago, the last recording date anyway, and then it will gather the information since that date. If the milk recording date is as of last month, that's fine. We can just use that top option. If they are on the live link, that specified date will be fixed, so you won't be able to alter it anyway. But that's fine, assuming that the live link is running as regularly as it should. So any problems with this element of it, give us a call software support. If you can't move the data on as forward as you'd like, it might be that the link hasn't run for quite a long time. We can look at why that is and backdate and bring in some data to refresh it all. So just one to watch for there. And here again, there's an option. Enter date is your usual choice, but only for the first import will you use this one. As it says, use only at first export, even after the database has been populated. So that one is for a brand new uniform, the very first time you do the recording after they've been populated. Choose that one, and thereafter it will be this one. Okay, now if you want to check, perhaps that there's no line number changes, but you just want to check it, you've forgotten to look at the other screen maybe, you can do that here as well. Event update report. That gives me the exact same list, although this is a slightly longer one. So this is going back to that specified date. There are 42 pages of this one. But again, it just allows you to have a quick look to see what you're about to receive. Does the data look reasonably, sensible? Anything very obvious in there that I really don't want to proceed any further until I've sorted it out, that kind of question. But again, nothing to dwell on too long, because that's where the validation comes into its own via Thor. Anyway, so we've made our choices here. We're choosing that we've just got events on this one, so there's no yields to worry about here. I go to next, and then straight away it asks me where I want to save that file. So we have a choice here. You can go into your sort of file directory and choose where you want to save it. Again, I'm just using desktop for now, but if you've got a memory stick, pop that in before you start this process, ideally. Gives your computer a chance to find it. And then you can add the file to your memory stick. And then again, move that memory stick into your Thor program. Or if you're a farmer, you might want to put it somewhere that you can find it again. So desktop is an ideal situation, or your documents or somewhere like that. Doesn't matter where really, as long as you can find it again, you know where it's saved. There is a send by email here. It depends if the email has been configured correctly on Uniform. So I would go with the SATA folder first and then attach it to the email. That's probably best. So if I finish this one, now we do get some queries on here already, so a kind of initial stage validation. These animal line numbers are 6 digits. These are too long. We can't accept any information from those. So if you're seeing an awful lot of those over and above, what are beef calves potentially, then perhaps check with the farmer, are these numbered correctly? Do you want them to come over to NMR? Are they dairy heifers or are they cows? In which case we will need to change them. You might also see the odd sire message on here. So initial one, if it can't recognize that sire, it won't go in, and we'll talk about sires in a bit. But generally speaking, we've got a data file now saved. It's on my desktop and it's called Uni2 Thor. So that's all good. If I just come out of Uniform a second, I've got a very busy desktop, but you will find the file. She says, there it is. For some reason, it's just over there. So now that's my little file here. I can open that. Quite a lot of numbers going on, but it looks normal. So that's the sort of formatting. It's all good to go. So that file, we then need to open up your email, whatever your email is. If you're sending it to your recorder, attach that file to the email with a note. Do the line number changes file as well, if you can, if there's some there, and then send those to your recorder. That's perfect. Or, as I say, save it to your memory stick. All farms are called the same file, so they are always called Uni2 Thor. So it might be if you're, an AC, so collecting lots of data from different farms, you may need to put them in different folders or just rename them before you go to the next one. Otherwise, it will overwrite the previous. Okay, so that's the most straightforward export file. Now that will contain, as I say, calving services, PDs, drying offs, sold animals, new animals. It does not contain mastitis and lameness. It was simply built before those two things became an issue, really. So that's why the live link becomes beneficial, because we can bring in mastitis and lameness over with it as well. Before we move to the live link though, if you know that your farmer isn't on the live link, and again, I'll show you where to check. Let's assume that it's not in this case. We want to bring in mastitis and lameness into Thor. The only way to do that, if we're just running this export file, close that one, is to go back to our cow head, into health and treatments number 4, and then mastitis analysis number 5. Okay, so this will show me, and again, my data is old, but it was a good example to use. This will show me the cases per month. So a nice little graph there. And we have a grid button that will give you the actual individual cows and the date that they had that mastitis case, and the quarter if known. So we can sort by date. Just click on the heading. This gives us the most recent ones at the top here. And then you can just gather these. So these can't be transferred electronically for, herds not on the live link, as I say. So you could do, take a photograph of it with your phone, or make a mental note, or however you want to do it. Print preview again, print it off if that's applicable. Or we can just, again, save as a file, as a PDF, and then you've got that on your memory stick along with everything else. So there's several ways of getting that, across to Thor ultimately. Then they will need to be keyed in manually. So that's your mastitis. The close out of there. The lameness works in exactly the same way. So I can go back to the health and treatments menu here, or start again on the cow head if you'd rather. So 5 was mastitis. Number 11 is lameness. Again, we've got some data on there. Grid is always individual cow, and then I can see which animals. So this gives you a date and a lameness case. It might even say sole ulcer, abscess, white line disease, those kind of descriptions as well, but they're all classed as lameness cases. So again, that can be print preview and save the file to your stick. Now, if we want a bit more detail with all of these things, the live link is there to assist you to make it quicker and smoother for data coming in with minimal intervention, hopefully. So we can go to the dashboard and have a look and see, are we on the live link? If the herd isn't and you want it set up, get your AFM to raise a call. It can be done through CRM, which is our internal sort of customer record management. We can set people up onto the live link from that point onwards, and then you'll see the data coming into Thor in advance anyway. So blue faces rather than red. Hopefully we'll have lots of blue faces, which will tell you that data has come in already. It's an automated process that runs every day. So when you download the herd into Thor, you will see those blue faces on there, everything that's happened since the last recording, really. So the place to check, is my herd on the live link or not? It's over here. I click on the arrow, I can see the date that link last ran, so hopefully a bit more frequent than that one. If it's not on the live link and never has been, it will say here never sent. So you can just click onto there. It's not going to affect anything at all. If it says never sent, it's not set up, pure and simple. So just give us a call. We can set that up for you. And then, it will run from that time onwards. And that will then send, as I say, all of the events up to the point at which the recording is requested, the herd is requested, including the mastitis and the lameness, along with which foot and which quarter. So to just, I'll come on to that one again in a minute, but I just want to cover through the export to NMR, which I have on my shortcut up here. just because it looks slightly different when you do it with milk meters. So if you're collecting milk yields as well, it's the same export button at the end of the day. So this hasn't changed at all, but we just make sure we've got milk meter selected here. These still apply, either the last milk recording date or the date that the link last ran. And again, first time only, every subsequent time. You've still got that event update report if you want to have a quick check. We go to next. Now this time there are a couple of extra steps. So retrieve latest milk yield data from processor. That's an optional one to run. What it will do, it will run, this is another link now, this will run a link from the Parler program or from the robot program and send that milk recording, the latest milk, sorry, not milk recording, milking data straight into Uniform if it hasn't run already. So you could maybe check, if you wanted to, you could check on the dashboard when it last ran. That will run that process, can take a few minutes. If it's a big herd, it could be a 10-minute job. So just be mindful of that before you click that button. It should have run anyway. It runs 4 times a day, usually before and after a milking. So chances are it's already in there. But if you know for a fact that it's not, or they just literally finished milking, and the link, you can see it hasn't run already, you can click it to run manually. So all that's going to do is just bring in those milk yields from before. It still takes pretty much as long, if it's already in there, it will still do all its normal checks and things. And once you've started that process, of course, you can't stop it, you've got to wait. So just see how you go on that one. Go to next. Then we've got an option to choose which groups we want to see. So usually you just want to tick groups and everything is ticked already. So if it's nice and straightforward, all the cows are, being recorded in this case, they're all milked the same number of times per day. Sometimes you might want to exclude dry cows, just to avoid any confusion there, but they shouldn't be having any milk yields anyway. You can pick and choose which groups. If they have maybe the highs that are milked 3 times a day and the lows are milked twice, you could run this export 2 times, once for the highs with a 3x set, and then once for the rest of the herd as a 2. So then you can feed that into Thor in 2 different settings. So see what's relevant for that particular herd. But if it's pure and simple, I want all the cows, don't worry about calf groups and that kind of thing. We just got those all ticked anyway. That's absolutely fine. So we go to next. This is the screen that will then determine, are they actually a 2x herd? So 2x being 2 milkings a day. You can see some times here. And what dates you want to refer to for your milk yields in any case. So just check these over. They should be set correctly. If we've done a link to a Parler, then it's going to be, probably spot on. Sometimes I know you do go back a day or 2, perhaps on these ones, to ensure that we've got a complete milking time. You can edit this screen, and that's where you could maybe swap to the 3x, go back and do the highs, and then back to the 2 times a day. Or the other option in there is robot milking if you're looking for an average of about 4 or 5 days. Okay. Assuming all is correct there, we go to next. And then again, it's the same option now. Where do you want to save this file? So do remember then, if you've got 2 for a same herd, one's the 3x cows, 3 times a day milking, and the other are 2x, just put them in different places, and then they will be saved independently. You won't be overwriting your work that way. And then finish. I won't do that now. It's exactly the same procedure. Okay, so that's our export file in. We've got events from there. We've got milk yields, and then the rest of it is over to Thor to validate and suck it all in. Okay, now there might be a few things as a result of doing that validation on Thor. It pops up and says, oh, not sure about this sire, not quite happy with him, or this particular calf has got an unknown breed, those kind of examples. So we can, if you're at liberty to do so and confident in doing so, from a recorder perspective, if you've got access to the data and you can see a change that would make a huge difference to you month on month, you know, by all means go in and alter that sire or change the calf, and then you can always re-import it again, because often it's one bull but an awful lot of cows that are affected, particularly if they're serving lots at the same time. If you're a farmer, then hopefully your milk recorder will point these things out to you and say, you know, there's something wrong with this particular bull. Can you sort it in uniform? If you're not sure either way, you know, that's what we're here for. Myself and software support can assist with these things. We can log on to most people's uniform. That's why they're online. And then we can tweak and make that sire good, or the data. But if something is holding you up all the time, and it's, you know, every time I do that herd, I have to correct a million things, then let's see what we can sort out with the source of the data, just to make that process much more smooth. So for example, if I go to my animal record, and you can search for a cow here as well. I'll just go into this one. This is actually one I've made up earlier, I think, the tummy tag. But you can go to that particular animal. So look up a line number, edit down here, and then you can see things like the ear tag. You can also see pedigree details, which will show you the breed. So sometimes it might have the wrong breed, or it might have no breed at all. So we can always go into here, and then you can search for a particular breed and make that good. Okay, I'm going to come back into here in a minute once we do click on the live link. So generally speaking, we can sort out a breed there. Another example, as I say, is sires. It's a real biggie, because sires are the sort of the pinnacle, if you like, of everything cascading down from there. If we get the wrong sire, well, not usually, it's not the wrong one, it's an unknown sire. If we don't have the right sire in there for the service may not come in properly. If we don't have a service, we don't have a PD, because the two are linked together. Then we don't have a calf sire when the calf is born. We've got no conception rate. You know, it's absolutely everything hinges on sires, really. So cowhead, service bulls, and it won't hurt to even have a look at this first before you're starting to look at line number changes, or just periodically have a look at the sire list and check things look sensible. So number 4 is our bull listing. This will show us all the bulls that they've ever used on this farm. So there could be a huge, big, long list in here. That's absolutely normal. They will have a short name that you'll be familiar with, and the farmer will know the bull by that name more than likely. They might have a number in here, which is just, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. They'll have a long name. They might have a bull code. They might have an AI code. That's one of our key identities for sires. And they'll all have a not in use indicator. So a tick not in use means it's an inactive bull. We keep all the data. We don't delete anything in here, but those bulls are no longer used by the farm currently. So what I do is just click on the header here and sort by not in use. So that brings all our active bulls, like our favourite sires list, up to the top. So these are the current bulls that this farm is using. And it's just a case really of eyeballing down and making sure that the AI code as a main identifier, also her book numbers as well, look correct. And you'll know straight away from experience with Thor as well, and farmers, hopefully you can spot these kind of things as well. I've just set this one up incorrectly on purpose. So for Guernseys, for example, and Jerseys and Ayrshires, actually, they have 1 letter and then 4 numbers for an AI code. So because they've got 1 character there, they have to have a space in between the letters and the numbers. Whereas other ones like Aberdeen Angus, Holstein, Belgian Blue, they don't have, or British Blue, sorry, they don't have a space. So the formatting has to be the same. This one, I've taken out the space on purpose just to illustrate this point. So that needs a space putting in. If we don't have a Herbook number for that bull on this list, it's going to fail. The service probably won't come in. So if I double click, and again, if you've got the opportunity to change it and you can see exactly what's wrong, then absolutely go for it, or call us for any assistance, as I say. If I go to edit, that will give me the record card of that bull. Now, actually, this one does have a Herbert number, that's our first identifier. That's what Thor and the live link look for initially. So if that's in there and that's correct, we might be all right. But that AI code, if that's not in there, it will look for the AI code next. So we do need to make sure ideally that it's right in any case. So that's now good. I can just check the other tab and make sure my breed is sensible for that particular bull as well. So sometimes we have no breed at all. It's pretty hard to put a new bull in without a breed, to be honest. But, you know, information coming in from other software conversions can be empty, and or it's the wrong breed entirely. But generally speaking, it's all good. That's all okay. I can okay to make that change. And now, if I go back to my bull listing, that sire is in the correct format. So it might just be little things like that that can make a huge difference to when you're coming into Thor, rather than having to correct each and every cow or each and every service. If we just redo this one, bring in your export file again, then it'll be fine. Or we can reset the Freya link back a bit and redo all of those services that we've missed before. Other ones that are blank might be absolutely fine, but worth having a check. So Pablo is an active sire. We don't have an AI code. Unfortunately, we can't see the Herbook number straight off there. So I will double click, have a quick look. Now he might be an own bull, in which case he has an ear tag. No Herbook number, no AI code. So that's probably fine, but you'll find out, you know, as soon as you put it into Thor anyway. So that's all good. And then another one on here is perfectly okay. He's got a Herbook number in instead of an AI code. So quite often that is the case. So as long as we've got that one, or that one, or that one as an ear tag, we're all good. Instantly on this note, I'm just going to have a quick drink. Sorry, too much talking. When you've got an own bull, the ear tag will go into here. We can register those bulls onto the Thor system, and then that bull will have a name onto your NMR records. Otherwise, he just becomes Holstein or whatever breed he is without actually which bull. And in order to get the sire onto the passport, if you're doing passport applications through Uniform, we do need the ear tag into that field as well, and then it will appear in as a sire before you apply for the birth. So yeah, that's just another little useful tip. Now, the other thing as well, to enhance the data quality of any new bulls that you have, please do, so there's more for farmers now, but please do make use or tell your farmers about the NMR bull search button. So when they've got a new sire, if I just cancel that a minute, we come into here and we go to new. So I've got a brand new bull that I've just purchased 20 straws for. Go to the NMR bull search and then look up that particular bull. Now we've got options here. I can look him up by his name. That's probably the most likely. Or you might just want to check, is that the right Herbook number for him? Or I've got an AI code, not sure if it's right. So the bull name, probably just the short name. Don't be too specific here. Let's use Jupiter as an example. It's looking up by name. Click on the magnifying glass. Now you may get quite a few results because there are a lot of Jupiters out there. But you then very quickly identify, hopefully, the right one for you. So we've got this one here. We can see the breed code. So 21 is Angus. So yeah, that's my bull that I'm using. Or it might be this one is a Limousin, 33. Yeah, that all looks good. Whichever one it is. If it's too many and you really can't decide, then we might need to put in, you know, perhaps another bit of the long name, or try the AI code if you've got it. But, you know, we want to make this as easy as possible. And I know sometimes the bull catalogue provides all these different numbers, none of which relate to the AI code or the Herbook number. There are NAB codes now that we're trialing at the minute as well, to use those instead, which are much more specific, and particularly for sex semen as well. So this will improve in time. But usually you can find the one you're interested in, click OK, and that fills in the record card for you. So we've got the AI code correctly. We've got a Herbook number where applicable. I go to other, it's put the breed in there as well. So it's all perfect. Saves you lots of typing. You know, typing is often risky if you tap one number too many times, something like that. So if we use that NMR bull search button every time for a new bull, it will go incorrectly. I've actually got a Jupiter already, but assuming it's a different one, we can say yes to continue. There we go. Okay, we can also merge bulls if you find you've got several instances of the same sire. We can tidy that up as well, so that's fine. Okay, that's the sires bit. So going on to the live link, let's close up some of these screens a second. So we want to go back to the dashboard. Oh, no, I've jumped the gun there a bit. It was already in. Okay, so are we on the live link? Yes or no? Yes, we are, because we've got messages to send and it was last sent on this date. Or no, we're not, never sent. So if you want it setting up, as I say, give NMR a call, talk to your AFM. If you then want to see, it's definitely worth having a look in here. As a recorder, just have a quick check, because you might be missing some information coming through. And also farmers, do have a look in here, and then you can understand what's happening. And again, there are a few sort of key pointers that can make such a difference to the data flowing in normally. So this 11 here, this red marker, tells me I've got some messages to send. So once it's set up, we can go into either of these two links. It takes you to the same place. Now, as a recorder, you're there on recording day. This message will not be unusual. The herd is locked by, it'll even say who's got the herd. So as I say, it's locking that process. But click OK or close. It will let you view the data that is there. You just can't send anything while that recording is happening. But it will pick up where it left off after that recording is completed. So that's okay. But worth having a look through. So we have some blue writing here. And we have some red. Now, red with most things, red is danger, red is bad. Blue is good in this case. So blue ones are never sent. They are perfectly correct on the initial stage of validation, but we've just not had the opportunity for the live link to run since these data items were put in. So those will get picked up, as I say, when the link is re-established after the recording. So we don't need to worry about blue so much. Red, at this stage, we do need to have a look as to why these events have failed that first validation. And it tells you here in the messages. So common examples, herd book numbers are too long or names are too long. And we can sort these out really easily, and then that data will go into the blue area to be sent. There is also a validation screen. If it was blue and looking reasonable to start with, it then gets sent in the validation. I haven't got any on here, but you'll see other examples of data that have failed because of, like I was saying, sire ID incorrect, breed unknown, those sort of messages. You will also see potentially a lot of red in here if farmers are having a look back over time. Don't panic if there's lots of red, because it may mean that it's tried to send stuff that's already got in. So remember that 5-day lag, there will always be a repeat. So quite often you'll see messages along the lines of calving date too close to previous calving date, and they're exactly the same. Or cannot add PD because I've already got a PD. So that kind of description is good. It just means we're trying to send stuff that NMR, Thor, her companion have already got. So we can ignore those quite happily. So it's more the ones that say something like no animal found. I can't find that cow unless it's been sold, in which case we're not too worried about it. Or something is too long. Something is restricting the data coming in. So these ones, as I say, quite common, but easily fixed. If you're seeing lots of them, again, give me a call. Quite happy if you contact me directly. I'm more than happy to go onto a farmer's PC and sort things like names, herd book numbers. Absolutely, it's all part of that data quality process. So, for example, this animal, this calf, its dam's herd book number is too long, and we're trying to send over, maybe a calving with a calf. Certain data items are restricting it. It's all about business rules within NMR. So if I double click, I can go to that calf's record. Now we know it was something to do with the dam. So the calf itself is fine. We go to pedigree. We can then link to the dam here. So that's the dam. Click on the little arrow. It will take me to the dam's record. So that's her 3918. Now, if I go back to her actual page, down to edit. So something about the herd book number, it said. Let's have a look at pedigree details. No, it's not in there. That's where you find the breed, if you ever need to correct the breed. Or something like it's down as dairy, it should be beef, that sort of change. Extra is where you find the long name, which can be about 40 characters long. So there's no restrictions on that one, generally speaking. Here's the herd book number. And for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you might spot immediately what's wrong. So we have this extra 01, which unhelpfully is often printed with the herd book number, but that is actually the breed code 01 Holstein. The herd book number is the rest of the ear tag, but generally just the 12 characters. So we can only accept a 12 character herd book number. That 01 has got no place being there at all. So I click OK. If I close that, 3918, remember that number. It does a refresh on the Freya link. And then, no, it's not quite what. Oh, where is it? Is it on there? It should be back down there. For some reason it's not, but generally speaking, it's got rid of the red one. It's now in the blue. Good to go. Same with this one. It's a name that's too long. So I'm dealing with older data here, but usually you can see it fixed before your very eyes. It becomes blue, and then it can be sent off. So this one, name too long. Let's have a look. 830. Edit. Now this is one I doctored earlier. Here's my name. It's a very nice name, isn't it? So in NMR, purely because of, when we used to print on paper, there's only so much room you can fit on a piece of A4. Our short name field, this one, is limited to 20 characters. Unfortunately, in uniform at the moment, we've got about room for 30 characters. So you can see where the long names might have sneaked in a bit. So if I just bring this back down to whatever it should be, 20, you've got room in the extra field. The long name, we can extend up to 40 characters in there. So we can always put it in there. And again, there's a funny herd book number with leading zeros. That shouldn't be there. So I'll just shorten my name, just for an example. Close that. And again, it does a refresh. So that's all good. She's back on the blue side, ready to be sent. And again, that send process will be picked up automatically, as I say, when the recording's done. So for recorders, you probably never see the live link running because you've already grabbed the herd usually when you're there. For farmers, if you wanted to send it manually there and then, you could. But if it's recording day, this is why we encourage things to be entered throughout the recording month so that it's all got time to get in there. But if your recorder is coming tomorrow, and the uniform data is all in there, that live link should have been running anyway to send it and validate it as well. If you're experiencing not a lot of data coming through or lots and lots of corrections of lots of different things, it's not necessarily your responsibility. That's what I'm saying. It's a support issue, potentially. There is a list of rejections here over time. I don't have any, but you can always, send us that file, and in the properties, you can go further back as well if you want to and say, we need to have a look at this, or just give us a ring with the herd number and we can have a look at what's happening. So usually we can sort things very well and then make that thaw process much more smooth for you. Just close that one. Close that one as well. Okay, so sorry, I've been waffling on for rather a long time. Let me go back to my chat here. If I stop sharing screen a minute. In the chat, do you have any questions? No, that's just people coming. So any if you want to raise a hand or any particular questions that you're thinking of, I'll just give you a minute to have a little think. No, there's nothing up there. So yeah. Does that all make sense? Hopefully. Yeah, there's a lot to take in, and I know, recording, this is only one element of a milk recording, absolutely. So generally speaking, this is why things like the live link will just be trickling in that information all the time. But if you are experiencing any issues at all, or it's just not making any sense, whatever, do give us a ring and we can have a good look at it, talk to the farmer, see what data's going in, and make it much more smooth for you. Okay, Fiona, wonderful. Let me see if I can. Shall I unmute you? If I can, hold on. No, it doesn't look like I can. Bear with me. I'll just change my settings. Allow mic. Right, that might switch on everybody actually, but that's okay. Some of you might be muted anyway. Right, Fiona.
I found it. I found it. Thank you.
Wow,
Hello,
brilliant.
Kath.
Hello.
Yeah, I was talking to a milk recorder yesterday, and it was apparent that she was looking at cows to get some details, and the window that she was opening was remaining open, and the farmer asked her not to open it. Can you show us how, if you're looking at animal details one-on-one, that you don't open too many animals' records and leave them open so there's a mass of files open?
Oh, okay. So if we go, let's share my screen again. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as a lot of people in that I travel around the program and leave stuff open in my wake, really. So let's say we were going into, I've got the dashboard open at the moment, so that's usually the case. That's your opening screen. If I go to animal record, or I search for a cow here, the dashboard is still open. So yeah, we've got another instance open there. Now, if I go to a different cow, if I'm having a check of maybe looking up some animals, let's just try cow number 2. I don't know if they've got one. No, they haven't got one. Hold on. Let me find. Next one is number 3. So you can rattle up and down on that single screen. If I go back to number 1, it's still just one instance of the animal record. However, if I then leave that open and go elsewhere, I might be looking next at mastitis analysis. There we go. Now it's opened up a few things because I've gone through the cow head. Mastitis analysis. I might go to grid there, and then I might see, oh, who's this cow? Double click. Actually, that one has gone back to there, but quite often it might open up a new instance of the animal record. I guess it depends where you're coming from.
I use search a lot, because if you enter the air tag and you know that the line number is wrong and you use the air tag to search, is it the search that's causing it?
No, it's still going back to there on this one, but that might be a version relation perhaps rather than that one. But I have seen different instances of animal records open. But good practice anyway would be to, right, I've finished looking at this animal, I will close this screen. So anything that you do open, perhaps for recording purposes, just close that one, close it as you go, really. And then, yep, I've finished with my mastitis now. You can close here. You can also close at the top right here, and even in the bottom grid, close that one as well. So then that would keep things tidy and to order as to what's open. And then particularly if the farmer's got several bits open, he's been working on it before you get there or something like that. So yeah.
I have one last question and I'll stop, and that's that sometimes I go on a farm and I want to go to that print screen option that you said, and I can't find it. I don't know whether the bottom bar is hidden and there's something generally you can tell us that will show the print screen option.
Yep, for anywhere. Okay, so as a recap, let's go back into daily tasks and the milk recording event update. So that'll be a good one to use. It might be something's hidden it down here. Quite often this bottom right corner is full of messages. Could be emails coming in. There's a little sort of notification pane there. Or as with in here, Teams is often blocking it. My little picture of you right now, but you're up here. Or even Team Viewer when I go into a farmer's PC, because the Team Viewer details are all down there. So if you can sort of minimize what's behind it, but that print preview button will always be there. It just might be obscured by something else. But yeah, bottom right corner, every report in uniform of this nature will have a print preview button. So then you're into there, and then you've got the option to print it out if you need to, or as I say, you can save it and then pop it as a PDF onto your stick or something. Okay, and then again we can close that one. So that's actually, because that's in a print preview, it's hidden off the rest of the program. So we do need to close that one, and maybe close up that as well as a matter of courtesy, I suppose, for the farmer's tidy uniform. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks very much.
All good, brilliant, thank you. Right, let me go back to my Teams. I'll keep the screen up for a minute. Anything else from anybody? So really good to see we've got some recorders on as well. I'm just going to have a quick peek as to who else we've got. We've got some farmers, brilliant. And some NMR people, lovely. So it might be you think of something later on, absolutely fine. You know, give me a quick call. I just want to show up my details on the screen actually. No, I can't. But it's cathsm@nmrp.com anyway. CATHSM. Drop me a line. I'm always on social media as well and that sort of thing. So keep an ear out for any other webinars that we do. This is recorded as well, so you can always watch it back. And I always send the link to everybody that registers. So I do encourage you, even if you think I'm never going to make that in a million years, but I want to listen to what Kath has to say, you know, do the registration. I won't worry if you're not attending. That's absolutely fine. I don't keep tabs on that particularly, but I know that you're interested. So then I can do a blanket email and send you the link afterwards. Okay. Thank you all very much for coming. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye for now. I think you're all muted, so you can shout at me all you like. Have a good day. Bye-bye.